Another really important tip out there is wearing an analog style watch, which has the hour hands. You never know if your compass gets broken or your GPS. So the sun is right up there, so you can point the hour hand directly at the sun, and where the 12 is, right in the middle, in between there, that's where south is. So you put the hour hand on the sun, and then halfway point between 12 and the hour hand, that is where south is. So I know south is that direction. So obviously, if south is roughly where the 1 is, just past, then I know that north is down this direction. The watch is a really important piece of your fieldcraft kit. You know, it's obviously not only just telling time and trying to keep a schedule or whatever, but it's definitely a fallback for a compass, which is pretty awesome. If you found yourself in a situation where you needed water, here's a typical beaver slough. Now, up here in northwest Ontario, there's a little saying called Beaver Feaver. So you drink from that water without purifying it, you'll get really sick because of the bacteria in there. So if you have water purification tablets, will work really well for killing the Giardia or the Cryptosporidium bacteria in there. Now that's formed because the beavers, you know, they're defecating and everything else in that water and stuff like that. So if you don't have any water purification tablets on you, then you need to boil that water before you consume it. Now it would help if you kind of filtered it a little bit with a rag or whatever. Not necessary, but it definitely would have to be boiled and boiled for a couple minutes, and then that'll kill any bacteria or anything in that water, and then make it safe for you to drink. Here's another good example. You could come across something like this and then wonder, hey, was somebody shooting out here? Did a bullet do that? But then a little bit further examination, you can see, oh, hey, there's older markings on here. So that is not the sign of a bullet, but actually a woodpecker. Whether you're hunting or scouting, you have to train your eyes to look for things that are out of place. And here's a good example. You can see here, these two rocks are out of place. They used to be sitting right here. So obviously at one time a bear came in here, pulled these rocks out, looking for grubs and stuff like that. But this is old, obviously. You can see that these were probably maybe moved last year or a couple years ago. But those are the kinds of things that you have to keep your eye out for. You're looking for things like abnormal broken twigs over, if a human was going through a smaller rock and the rock was moved, then you'd see a fresh, depression in the ground. So those are just one of many signs. Sometimes you look for maybe somebody's equipment snagged off and broke a leaf off. Those are kinds of things that you look for to see, okay, was that an animal? Is that a human? Now it depends on the kind of situation that you're in, right? Or if you're just regularly hunting, or if this is some type of SHTF scenario. But overall, what you're doing is practicing and learning fieldcraft. This here is a really good example. See, I was walking along, coming through there, and what I thought I was stepping on a solid rock, and it wasn't, and the rock rolled out. So you can see how the depression left in there looks extremely fresh, right? And a good sign of that is there's no deadfall, there's no dead leaves, dead twigs. Everything kind of looks fresh in there. Sometimes you might even see bugs moving around. That is a good sign right there for learning for human presence being around, or even a bear. Seeing that we haven't had any moisture in a while, you can see my footprint in the moss. So the moss is pretty dry. It's not fresh and kind of bouncing back. There's another footprint. You can kind of vaguely see my footprint. So if you were tracking someone or evading, those are definite signs to look for. Days like today, when it's really hot and humid, your body is gonna lose lots of salts. So what I've started to do is I've got some of that like Himalayan kind of salt, and I've ground it up. So you can just take a pinch of that, and then drink your water. That will help replace some of the salts in your body, because your body needs salt in order to retain water. So it's a fine balance, right? Because you don't want to consume too much salt, but you need just enough so that your body is going to retain water, because when you're sweating, you're losing salts through the pores of your skin. So actually taking a little bit of salt actually hydrates you a lot better. My olive drab pack works really well with this Swedish M90. It seems to really complement it. So I think a solid color pack like olive drab works really well with this pattern. And olive drab overall works, really well in this type of terrain. Even if you went with, like a solid color, it's olive drab is the original multicam. So these are just some of the skills that I try to practice when I go out scouting and spend time in the forest. Is you're not just traipsing through the bush, but you're looking at things, you're observing, you're listening. When the birds are singing and things like that, there's no real threat. But if you found yourself in a situation where, say, you were trying to evade people that were coming after you, say some type of apocalyptic event, those are signs that you want to have your eyes trained to notice. Flipped over rocks, depressions in gravel and sand, moss, broken leaves, broken branches, things like that. You can even practice stuff like that by even walking in an area, and then when you're backtracking out of that area, look for the signs of your own tracks, and look for maybe branches or things that you might have snapped. Maybe even snap some intentionally on your way in, just for training purposes as you're going back out. Walk in a quarter mile somewhere, and then walk back out, analyzing the terrain where you walk. And you'd be surprised that it doesn't take long, and your eyes especially if you train yourself to catch that stuff, your eyes will catch it right away, and you'll notice, hey, something's out of place here. So it's good fieldcraft. You don't have to have somebody teach it to you. You actually can teach it to yourself just by using your own path and things like that in the bush. So just something to consider. Camouflaging my face, I use the flat green first, and then I usually do a couple black lines. So I'll put one black line and another black line, and then I take my finger and feather that black out. Just kind of helps blend it a little bit better. So that kind of helps with shadows and things like that. When you're in the bush like this and there's light coming through the trees, you're gonna get this mosaic of light and shadow and darker shadows, lighter shadows, depending on how much light's getting through. And so when shadows hit your camouflage or your face, it really helps to obscure your silhouette, helps to really blend you into the background. So that's just kind of one of the methods that I kind of use with camouflaging my face. The rifle I'm using is a Remington 700. So this is the 30-06 Springfield. Now, I like shooting the 165 grain Hornady SSTs out of these with the ballistic tip. This gun seems to really like that ammunition. So I've used a mixture of like olive green and more of a leafy green and some brown and black, using an onion net to create that kind of scaly checker pattern. So the colors that I used on this rifle really also help to blend its silhouette in with this type of mossy bedrock. We got lots of pines, lots of deciduous style trees. So the rifle and its camouflage makeup do pretty good in this environment. So I'm pretty happy with how that turns out. You don't want to be consuming excess calories. You don't want to be wasting needless time, especially if you were on an evasion type scenario. So those are just just a couple tips to consider. That's kind of another reason why I dummified those kits that I have. So I've got a fire kit, a water kit, and a hygiene kit, and etc. So those kits are always together because if you are kind of like me, at different times of the year you like to put on different backpacks or try different gear, and so you're always moving your kit maybe from one bag to another at different times of the year. So keeping that kit organized, that's really important as part of your overall fieldcraft. It's not just recognizing the things out in the terrain or knowing things about water sources, things like that. It even comes down to how you organize your kit and put your kit together.